Ben, explain the Electoral College.
Oh boy, I'm so glad I was asked to do that on short notice. Okay.
You're a professor.
I am a professor. Okay, to win the US presidential election, you might think, if you've not paid any attention at all, that just winning the largest number of votes would win you the presidential election, as it does in France. But oh no, of course, that's not the case at all. Instead, you win by getting 270 Electoral College votes out of the 538. Why are there 538? Each state gets 2 votes for each of its senators, and then it gets as many votes as it has congressional representatives in the House of Representatives. And that's 438 in one, 100 in the other. You add them up, you get 538. Half of 538 is 269. If we end up with 269 votes each, we're in hell. That will be very bad if that happens, because then it goes to Congress and it goes to who has the most state delegations in Congress, and it'll basically be the Republicans. Okay, but realistically, Harris and Trump are looking to get 270 votes, and you get them by winning each state in a winner-takes-all fashion. Because we know who's going to win California, it's going to be Harris, and we know who's probably going to win Texas, it's Trump. Big states don't matter, or rather, big states that are very partisan don't matter. And it's all of these kind of medium-sized swing states, swing because either side could win them, that matter. We've got down to 7 that matter. They're the so-called blue wall, which is Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin in the north. If Harris wins those, and the extra congressional seat in Nebraska, and don't ask about Nebraska, but if she wins those, she gets 270. That's her easiest route. And then there's North Carolina and Georgia in the southeast. Obama once won North Carolina, but otherwise the Democrats haven't won it. Biden did win Georgia, first time since the 90s that the Democrats had won that. And then Arizona and Nevada in the southwest, right? So you need some group of those states to push you over 270.
And Nick, watching the results involves watching a lot of television over a couple of days and a lot of maps.
It certainly does. Look, Ben gave a great explanation of the Electoral College there. Can I just talk about Nebraska for one moment?
Please do.
Out of the 50 states, 48 of them do this winner takes all. You know, if you win Pennsylvania by 1 vote, you get all of their 19 electoral votes. The 2 that don't do it are Maine and Nebraska. They based it on a statewide system and the congressional districts. And why Nebraska is so important is because there is what's called the blue dot there. It's the 2nd congressional district. It's based around Omaha, which is a city that's full of hospitals, professionals, universities. You know, it's a place that the Democrats are hoping to win. Biden won it in 2020. And why it's so significant is because if Kamala Harris wins those 3 muscly Rust Belt states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, that gets her to 269. What gets her to the magic number, 270? It's that little blue dot in Nebraska. So that is important. As for your question, yeah, I mean, the Harris campaign doesn't think there's going to be a result until Thursday, America time. Now, in 2016, we got a result at 2:25 a.m. East Coast time. I was actually in the Hillary Clinton, what was supposed to be her victory party. They hired this big convention center. They put up a stage right below this massive glass ceiling that figuratively she was supposed to smash. Of course, that ceiling ended up intact at the end of that evening. And in 2020, the counting took a lot longer, partly because of COVID, partly because of the votes, the postal votes. I was with Biden. I was in Delaware. It was kind of midway through Saturday morning America time that we finally got the results. So I think you're probably going to split the difference if it's as close as we think it's going to be. And the Harris campaign, they reckon there'll be a result on Thursday.
And also, we're in the, I was going to say bizarre situation. It's only bizarre to kind of like British sensitivities, but something like half the electorate have already voted, either in person with in-person early voting, or Ben with mail-in ballots.
Yeah, I mean, one
It's
thing...
half done.
70 million or something.
Yeah,
right. And so this vibe shift actually in the last week towards Harris, which followed a vibe shift towards Trump, the previous week. I mean, people could have voted before either of those vibe waves had even
Before Peanut
happened.
Squirrel.
Before Peanut, while
left
Peanut
us.
was still alive. Imagine that world.
We're in a post-Peanut world.
We are. I think one thing that surprises British people from other countries, is that the American electoral system is itself decentralized in all of its laws. So every state, and Nick gave a nice example there of how, even with how you do the Electoral College, Nebraska and Maine have gone their own way. But for the most part, states look the same in the Electoral College, but how they allow voting really, really differs. Do they allow early voting? Do they allow postal voting? They all allow it now. But in Oregon, it's all mail voting, right? So there isn't turning up at the polls. It's a mail-only system. And then they're going to have different ballot designs to top this off. And everybody who at least is Gen Xer like me remembers the 2000 election, where Florida was, it seems, decided by an extraordinarily poorly designed ballot that made people who thought they were voting for Al Gore vote for Pat Buchanan instead. So that means, there's a lot of variation, which is super interesting for political scientists, but for everybody else, it's extraordinarily confusing, and it means different law cases could come up in each of those different states if there is a candidate, and God knows who that could be, who is disruptive and refuses to acknowledge losing the election.
Newscast from the BBC.